Hello everyone. In this course, one of our main focuses will be to learn how to write excellent summaries. And in this video, we're going to focus on summary writing and talk about some of the rules that you'll need to follow in order to be successful. So here they are. These are the 7 basic summary rules. And in the following slides, we're going to go over these in detail and then also give you some examples as well. The number 1 rule is to follow the first sentence formula. So the first sentence needs to have some of the key elements of your summary. And these include the author's name, the date, the title, and the overall main idea, which must be accurate. So let's look at this example. Example we see, it says, in Janice Smith's 2013 article, Why Sleep is Underrated, she describes the benefits of sleeping and how this leads to better health and a longer life. Now look at these elements that we see. The first thing we see the author's name, and this is the full name, her first name and last name. Then we see the date, which is the year, and then we see the title of the article, Why Sleep is Underrated, and then the overall main idea. And by the way, this overall main idea will be your paraphrase of what you consider to be the main idea or the most important idea in the article. Number 2 is to remain neutral. Remember, a summary should be objective, so do not add your own opinion. Sometimes we make mistakes and add vague adjectives like interesting, informative, or good, but these adjectives need to be avoided when summarizing as well. So don't confuse a summary with a response. In a response, you'll need to add your own opinion, but not in a summary. So always remain neutral throughout. So number 3 is to use reminder phrases. Now most of you probably don't know what a reminder phrase is, but it's very simple. It's simply a phrase that reminds us who wrote the article. Alright, so let's look at these examples below. The first one is according to the author. The second one is she states. The third one is Smith claims, and the fourth one is the author also explains. So look at these. If you look at them closely, they all refer to the author, right? Numbers 1 and 4 actually mention the author. Number 2 says she, and number 3 says Smith. Now notice how number 3 does not say Janice. Janice is the author's first name. It says Smith. So a reminder phrase does not include the first name, it only includes the last name. So instead of saying Janice claims or Janice Smith claims, you can simply say Smith claims. So make sure that you can distinguish, or I should say this, make sure that you always know which name is the author's last name and which name is the author's first name when you are writing summaries. Also, using these throughout the summary helps us to remain neutral because when we refer back to the original author, it is clear the ideas mentioned are not ours. What I've noticed as a teacher, when I read summaries and my students do not use any reminder phrases, it becomes very unclear if the ideas are from the original author or from the student. And that's why reminder phrases are also important. This really helps to clarify that we are actually indeed neutral. Number 4 is to use reporting verbs. Most reminder phrases include reporting verbs. However, we must choose the right verb to describe the article, or I should say maybe that part of the article. Here are some examples of reporting verbs. Explains, claims, suggests, analyzes, reveals, describes, presents, shows, mentions, investigates, discusses, and considers. Notice how each verb above has a different definition. You must accurately choose the right type of reporting verb. So this is very important. Some more general reporting verbs would be like, for example, discusses or describes. But sometimes the author is saying something specific. Maybe he or she is making a specific claim or a suggestion. So we might use a verb like claims or suggest. Maybe the author is explaining something or analyzing something. I think you get the idea, but the point is that we need to use different verbs for different aspects of the article and make sure you have a variety of reporting verbs as well. I've seen some students say the author describes, the author describes, the author describes, and that becomes, it feels like it becomes very repetitive, and this is something that we try to avoid when it comes to academic writing. Rule number 5 is to follow chronological order. To capture the article more accurately, you must follow the flow of its original order. So don't reorganize the content, even if you think it needs organized. I've seen students make this mistake. They'll say, I think I can make this even better. Then they reorganize it, and this is something that you try to avoid when you are summarizing. Now, the exception to this is the overall main idea in the first sentence. So the overall main idea, perhaps it comes later on in the article, and you can't find it until perhaps later on or at the end. So this would be the exception. You could include this idea in the very first sentence. But other than that, you want to try to avoid reorganizing the article. Okay, number 6, know your audience. Now this is something that students often forget. The reader of your summary did not necessarily read the original article. Alright, so remember that. So it's important to be very, very clear. Okay? So you must define, describe, explain, and give context when needed. And this can especially be helpful when summarizing a presentation that has numerous visuals. So the last point I want to just mention here. We have been talking about summarizing articles, but sometimes we also summarize presentations as well. And this is especially helpful to give some kind of context and to explain what's going on in a summary so the reader has a clear idea. So remember to know who your audience is. They did not necessarily read the original article or watch the original video. And the last rule is to paraphrase accurately. And to paraphrase accurately, the key here, without changing the original meaning. Now this is very, very difficult. We're taking the author's words and we're putting them into our own words. How do we do this without changing the original meaning? Well, there are 3 strategies we've already discussed in this course. The first one is to use synonyms, which is a similar word. The second one is to simply change the word order. Perhaps it's a passive sentence and you make it active, or it's an active sentence, you make it passive. And then the third one is to change the word forms. Perhaps you have an adjective and you can use an adverb instead, or perhaps it's a noun and you can use an adjective. So these are some ways in which we actually paraphrase. I just want to point out that we try to avoid using direct quotes in a summary. Alright, we paraphrase, we do not use direct quotes, and this is something that's really, really important. I've seen some summaries that have more quotes than paraphrasing, and this is something that you should avoid. Alright, so the 7 basic summary rules, here they are once again. Follow the first sentence formula, remain neutral, use reminder phrases, use reporting verbs, follow chronological order, know your audience, and paraphrase accurately. If you do all of these things, you will have a good summary, and it should be very effective. Alright everyone, that's it for our video. I hope you enjoyed those pictures of Ohio State. They were all taken from brand.osu.edu. Alright, bye-bye everyone.